When the world was at war and cities trembled under sirens and blackout curtains, ordinary people found extraordinary ways to protect what little they had. There were no electric locks, no motion sensors, and no security cameras. Just ingenuity, desperation, and scraps. Yet out of that scarcity came one of the cleverest home defence inventions ever built. A homemade window alarm made entirely from trash. It was simple, nearly invisible, and frighteningly effective.
And here's a my Caprim.
During World War II, civilians lived in constant fear of air raids, looters, and even enemy agents. Factories focused on weapons and aircraft, not home protection. So, ordinary men and women across Britain, Germany, and occupied Europe began inventing their own ways to keep their homes safe. These makeshift alarms were built on three simple ideas. They had to be silent until triggered, made from salvage parts, and easy to reset. The solution they came up with used one of the oldest principles in electricity: the broken circuit. In normal times, a closed circuit lets current flow quietly, but when the connection breaks, it can trigger sound or movement. That's exactly what these wartime inventors exploited. A small loop of wire, a nail, and a tin can became an intruder's worst nightmare. When the window or door was closed, the wire touched a nail or screw, completing a circuit. But the moment someone tried to open it, even slightly, the wire slipped away, the connection broke, and the alarm came to life. Some used battery-powered buzzers salvaged from radios or doorbells. Others used pure mechanics. A can filled with pebbles or nails suspended by a string that clattered loudly to the floor when the wire was disturbed. The sound was unmistakable, sudden and terrifying in the dead of night. These weren't toys or gimmicks. They were life-saving tools built in kitchens and cellars by people who had no other line of defence. In occupied towns, one rattle from a tin could mean the difference between escaping an intruder or facing them head-on. The brilliance wasn't in complexity. It was in understanding how to make the simplest things work when the world offered nothing else. What made this system so ingenious was that anyone could build it. Most used scraps from broken radios, bits of wire stripped from lamps, and nails hammered into wooden window frames. The alarm could be powered by a small dry cell battery or even hand-cranked field generators scavenged from damaged equipment. It didn't matter if you were a trained engineer or just someone trying to keep your family safe. With a few basic materials, you could make your home alert you the moment danger approached. And the concept still holds up today. Imagine living off-grid, far from modern power or Wi-Fi. You could recreate this exact World War II alarm with a few basic items: a roll of copper wire, a small battery, and a simple buzzer or piezo speaker. All right, here's how you do it. Stretch the wire across the window frame, secure it with thumbtacks or nails. Now connect it to the circuit so that when the window opens, the wire disconnects and activates the buzzer. No electricity grid, no apps, no updates, just raw functionality. And, if you want to go even simpler, use the mechanical version. Tie a small metal can filled with pebbles or screws to a string that rests lightly on the inside of the window. When someone pushes the window open, the can drops, making enough noise to wake you up instantly. You've just built a functioning alarm system that costs almost nothing and works without fail. People who've tested these designs today, in off-grid cabins, workshops and campsites, are often shocked by how effective they are. They don't rely on power, they don't need Wi-Fi, and they can't be hacked or jammed. They're physical, audible and immediate. In fact, the loudness isn't the real weapon, it's the surprise. Thieves and trespassers rely on stealth, and the second that illusion breaks, most of them flee. During the war, families who rigged up these alarms reported that intruders almost always ran away after hearing the first clatter. It wasn't about fighting back, it was about never needing to. You know, the real power of this trick wasn't the materials, it was the mindset. Civilians under siege didn't wait for someone else to solve their problems. Instead, they looked at junk and saw opportunity. They used creativity as armor. That's what survival truly is, thinking like an engineer when everything's falling apart. It's easy today to assume that technology is always the answer, that security means gadgets, cameras, and complex systems. But, well, history tells a different story. When power grids fail or, batteries die, it's the simplest tools that keep working. A circuit made from scrap wire is, immune to software crashes. A can on a string doesn't care if the Wi-Fi's down. And that's what makes this wartime hack still relevant, honestly. It's resilience in its purest form. Even now, if you're camping, living remotely or preparing for emergencies, this old trick is worth remembering. You can build one in minutes, teach it to kids as a survival lesson, or just keep it as a reminder that innovation doesn't need a factory. Well, it needs imagination. The forgotten window alarm of World War II isn't just a piece of history. It's really a symbol of human adaptability. When people were stripped of every comfort and still found ways to stay safe, that was engineering in its rawest, most human form. It's proof that resilience doesn't come from having everything. It comes from using what you've got. So, next time you hear a rattle in the dark, think of the families who survived by turning trash into technology. They didn't have sensors, apps or alerts, just courage, cleverness and a bit of wire. And that was enough. If you love uncovering forgotten wartime ingenuity and real survival lessons that still apply today, make sure to subscribe. Share this story with someone who believes simple ideas can still save lives. Because every time we rebuild one of these forgotten tools, we prove that the smartest solutions are often the ones history left behind.